Welcome to today's channel. I'm glad you found your way here, and I hope you can feel yourself in a time where you can just sit and relax and enjoy. Shall we begin? It is in this place of deepest desire, is it not, that you are to feel present, to be felt placed here within this recognition, to be felt coming forth out of you to speak of us in this way. We are knowing of all that is, dear ones, and it is in this placement of which it is that we are to be prominently placed within you, to become this sensing of self, to see self as, to be this divine knowing or intuition that is to feel as it is to rise and to be pulled forth out of you in this sensing of self to become, to be allowing of self to know, to hear these words that are being interjected into your thought process or your thoughts throughout one's day. It is to become an allowing, it just must, to be spoken of us in this way, in a sensing of all that is right and correct. For we are knowing of all that is. It is in this very being of love and light that we are to reside, in an essence or a sensing of this self to be. We are knowing of all that is, and it is apparent in this placement of all that is that we are. We are known in this formation to be a sensing of herself to call of us, the etherical beings of love and light, to be spoken of in these words of grace, commending, faith and trust, to become explicit within this one as she is to feel these words and to channel them outwardly in a sensing of as a response to be felt by her. We are to be received in this way, dear ones, for it is a channel of thought that is to flow into a recognition that is to become yours, that is apparent from within, to be speaking and hearing of these words as such, to be known as you. And it is in these messages of love that we are to feel your response, this opening that is to become yours, to show, to step into or step out of, shall we say, the holding container that has been yours in a human shell or sheath that has hidden you back in a way as to non-accept of this that we are. For it is in this that we are, that we say, that we offer. It is you. In your recognition once more, to become this being of love and light, to feel this human process that is to steamroll you at times into a sensing of to be dull and void, into a voice that is to be expressant of all that you are. One must become allowing, dear ones, we say this to offer with the greatest intent, to be willing to become your most viable spokesperson, to become the cheerleader of self, to become the encourager of all that you are, to speak and hear and like and see. But it is in this, dear ones, that we are to sit close. And it is to feel of our interjection of this that we are in a sensing of energy, a recognition or a thought of a power that is to become yours, to be felt, established within oneself again, to speak of this encouraging way, or to speak of self in this encouraged version of self to see. We offer here, dear ones, we are witness to an observation from within that many of you are disallowing or non-interpreting of self to be this special being of love and light that you are. It was to be an establishment that has been centered, connected to, a responsibility almost to call of it to be that, to be the core component of you within all this acknowledging or knowing of what it is that you really are. For if one is able to disembark, shall we say, or hop off the path of which it is that you are seeing yourself presently placed upon in this presuming of self to see, to know that it is of many different versions or aspect of this one of which it is that you are, that is participating further, more outwardly, into a deeper, a stringent understanding of which it is that you are to become. For it is the etherical being of love and light that you are, the radiation from within you that you are emitting in this exactness to be spoken of in this way, to receive these words, to become a understanding or a desiring from within, to be ever feeling of the moreness in which it is that you are. It is in this one that we are established within this sensing of herself to be spoken of in this way. And it is in these words that Tanya is to feel the flow of our energy, our transmission or conversations to be caught by her, and a sensing of to be able to not manipulate in the human understanding, but to be willing and trusting to allow these words to flow through to her in as a response to be needed, to be seen, to be interacted with. We are the loving beings of love and light, dear ones. We are the establishment of all that is, the divineness, the being of light that is to be this self-expressed version of you, to be able to stand back out of the physical form and be willing to see this lighted, spirited version of which it is that you are the grand occupier of. For it is in this spirited, lighted version of which it is that you are to present here in this space of absolute, to feel of self to be sitting here in a place of receiver, to receive, and to feel this encouragement from within as it is to be appearing to you in a new place of awareness, or a new ability to look at from a different viewpoint, shall we say, that one must. For it is in this willingness to see of self in this different way, to become acknowledging of and to become the bold hearer of these new words that are to be formed from within you, to be allowed to be offered outwardly in a recognition of your voice as yours to be speaking them of. We are here, dear ones, in many sensings to feel of our forms and our imagery as they are to present to you upon this earthly plane. It is in this divine one that she wishes to speak in this way, to suggest of us to be a guide or a privileged self, to be coming through in a recognition of this that one is. It is in all entirety, dear ones, that we are happy and pleased to present in this way, that is to feel familiar within this one, Tanya, as she is to speak these words of ours, to be expressed as hers in a knowing of truth that they are. For there are many interpretations that are to be received by you in this earthly plane, to be these human beings of love that you are to exist here upon this common plane in regards to of which it is that you are to suggest of self to be. We are knowing in this apparentness that we are to come forth, to step into you in a sensing of this that you are, if in when one is allowing of this process to be an interaction or a happening that is to be called forth from you. We are never to be felt as if to intimidate or to be overbearing or overpowering in this sensing of oneself in human physicality, to not interpret of this that we are, or to have no desire to become. Because it is in this knowing, dear ones, that we are a willingness that is in everyone to have been placed so perfectly present within a sensing of this that you are, to know of the beacon of light that you are, that is to implode outwardly, that is to rule just within your system, so that one may, sooner than they expect, possibly stumble across this sensing that is to rise, this voice of eagerness that is to speak, to ask, who or what am I? What is this word of more? What if there is more for me to see, to know, to be, to do? Be allowing, dear ones, to allow this conversation to be stumbled across if it must, to become this voice of reasoning from within you, to speak these words in a sense of recognition that is to become a power to your voice, that is to implode up and out of you with this intent to be heard by yourself as the important being of love and light that you are. And it is to radiate outwardly into the far reaches of all this that we are, to be contained within, to be the extravagant beings of love and light, to be always this impression of self to become into. We are knowing here, dear ones, of the many that are to speak and interact with us in this way, whether it be called forth as your sensing of this voice to call of us as etherical beings of love and light. Be allowing, dear ones, of this tongue to speak in a sensing of, to voice your interpretation of all it is that you are to feel. For it is in this divine knowing from within you that your recognition into this place of acceptance has been placed or laid, so that you may feel to call of it as your own. We are this knowing voice of interpretation that is received by Tanya in this way, and it is in her ability of which it is to be felt capable to be called forth out of her in this way, to suggest of us in this presence to be placed into. We are a recognition, dear ones, within the many of you that are to be appearing to search or to peer into, shall we say, to look a little deeper or to look a little more further into a response of a subtle suggestion from within that there is to be more than what is within the mind's eye to see. For it is in this mind's eye to see that this allowing is to become a deeper opening. It is to become a crevice in a sense of self to look into, to feel as one is to be perched upon the entry point and willing oneself to dive into, to discover, to journey and to experience a more interactive relationship within this that we are. For we are known, dear ones, in this place of complete absolute, to become this intrinsic self that is to rise on up, to be a willing voice that is to speak these words of power in a boldness to be spoken of in this that you are of us to be. We are many interactions, many overlayings and interjections that are to be felt, to be yours, that are to come your way in every now that is yours, visible in this present place of which it is that you are to present. We are known to this one in this sensing of herself to be a placement within this opportunity that is to be a welcomed response from within her to receive of us to be. We are the knowing beings of all that is, and it is in this collective collaboration that we are to be viewed as the interpreters of all that is to be willing and not, into all that are capable and not, into all that is physical and not. For it is in this mix, in this deliberate, concise ability of which it is that the becoming of all is entitled to. We are knowing, dear ones, in this space that we are interjecting these thoughts to become a version or a response that is to be spoken of by this one, to be emitted outwardly in a sensing of her thoughts to become hers, to speak of as ours to be. We knowing of this place, dear ones, it is to become a desire by most, if not many, in all, to be felt or feeling this representation of this self in this way. To respond to this loving being of which it is that you are, that has nurtured and cherished and been placed within you, into this becoming of self, to see oneself as this lighthouse of all that is. For it is, dear ones, in these beings of which it is that you are to be placed here upon this earthly version of life, to be interacted into as yours, that we are known as the overseers of all that is. We are the loving beings of all interactions that are to be seized by you in this way, and we are willing to interject into any conversation that can be presented outwardly in a sensing of this heart, to speak in a depth of desire to know of this in all that we are. We are the loving beings, shall we say, dear ones, to be presenting here, to be felt as this presence that is to become your recognition once more into all this that you are. We are the etherical beings of love and light, and we are in a sense of satisfaction to be calling this name as a reminder to you, to be speaking of to you in this way that we are. We love of you here, dear ones, and it is in this entirety of which it is that we are, that you are to become. Be allowing of all love and light to be felt as a process from within you, that you may feel to call forth, to overlay upon oneself and all that one sees, to project this imagery, this feeling of deep knowing of love that is to be called forth out of you, to become once again this pathway of pure consciousness. We love of you, dear ones, and it is in here that we are to leave of you to be. We speak with you in this voice of certainty to become, to be felt, calling forth out of this one, Tanya, in this way, to hear of all that we are to have to say. Well, a little bit of information. I guess I have a lot of people ask me, am I really aware of what is being said? And in truthful response to that, I am slightly conscious to the words that I am hearing, to be able to offer them outwardly to form a conversation so that us in human form can understand of what they speak and how they mean. It is a thought bubble or thought process that I am offered to be able to receive so that I can speak of it outwardly. Yes, it comes thick and fast sometimes, and it is often to be felt as words or imagery for me to be shown. So a little bit to answer that for many of you that have questioned me on how I hear spirit or feel spirit. It's an entirety for everybody to feel. To be trusting and to sit into this place of recognition into who it is that you really are, and to how you see and interact with yourself in this life. And it becomes a great understanding I have to offer here, that to receive these words in such a powerful place and to be willing to trust not only myself as human, but to be able to trust these beautiful beings of love and light that they are, and to encourage them. And let me tell you, they don't need much encouragement at all, because they are willing almost as soon as I close my eyes to flow. But that is a willingness within me in this human form, is it not? To be allowing to hear these words of love. Why would one not? To sit in this space of receiving, this space of grand love, or big love as I have called it in my books that I have authored. This big love that you are responsible of, And you can be choosing off to stand into every single moment of your day. So yes, I love these moments and these conversations that I am offered openly, honestly, and safely, as a word I get asked often too. How do I feel about that? I truly, truly feel loved and cared for in this space of transmission. I guess you could call it to be that. And I love the interaction that I feel with these etherical beings as they are known to me by. So feel so presently placed in this space that you are now to call of yourself as you, the loving you. Be accepting and forgiving and knowing of all that it is that you are. And Spirit's message today, I'm taking from it to be almost a responsibility within you, to believe you, to trust you once more, and to allow yourself to feel this grand love that you are. For you truly, truly are, whether you believe it or not. Have a grand day. Allow this heart of yours to open, even if just a little bit more each time you connect into maybe one of my channelings with Spirit, or with yourself even, and allow yourself to speak in this big, bold voice that is always, always willing to be heard by you. I love of you in such a grand way, and I look forward to our next interaction, our next channeled message, to see what Spirit has to offer us today. I thank you once more.